Right. Hi, everyone. Welcome again to AuthorStory. I'm Alexander Lim, your host. And for this episode, I'm interviewing Kimberly Benjamin, author of the book Attorney by Day, Novelist by Night. Bring your book to light while still practicing law. And for those of you following along who are interested, you can go over now to the Amazon link in the description below the video and check out, or even better, get a copy of the book. So Kim, welcome to AuthorStory. It's our privilege to have you with us as our guest today.
Thank you so much. I'm really privileged to be here. I'm excited about this invitation.
Cool. Well, thanks for accepting it. So Kim, please tell us about yourself as a writer. What's your author story?
Wow, that's a great story. I was one of those people that I write about in my book who has been writing all their lives and has file drawers full of half-finished novels that they never quite brought to life.
Right.
Never quite brought to life.
Right.
And then I realized that basically there were a lot of people out there like me.
Okay.
I grew up in a family of attorneys and all my life heard stories about wonderful stories that just never made it into print. And then in my previous profession, I had many clients who were attorneys, and it always seemed like most of them were liberal arts majors in college that probably would have wanted to do something else, but felt like law was a more advantageous career move. So they have all these like hidden stories that they want to bring to life.
Okay, so you're not a lawyer or an attorney yourself, is this correct?
Correct. Yes, I'm not an attorney.
Okay, but you are very familiar with the everyday aspects of the legal profession then.
Yes, everyone in my family was an attorney but me. So
okay.
That was probably my motivation, my derivative of going in another direction. So, yes,
all right.
Exactly.
All right, okay, so you kind of skipped on the family business then, so to speak.
Yes, I did. I just too many stories about, yeah, I did. I definitely decided that it was probably not my cup of tea. But,
okay.
Yes.
All right, cool. So let's talk a little bit about the book. Can you tell us a little bit more about it? What's it all about?
Well, as I mentioned, the book, the motivation for the book was because I, as I have said before, grew up in a family of attorneys, and there were so many stories and so many half-started projects. I mean, attorneys spend their lives reading and writing,
right?
But everything that they do is so controlled. I mean, font size, space size, paper size. I mean, it's just so rigid that most of them, if they have an opportunity to read or write anything else, it's completely not, it's completely fiction.
Right.
So I happen to have a sister who's an attorney also, and she has been working on novels for the past 5 years. She and I were actually kind of co-writing at one point. And the book was to basically tell people that you can do it, and that thing inside of you that's motivating you to want to write those stories, those ideas, that there are things that really need to be shared, not just for you, but for basically for the world at large, that you have a message to get out there. So the book is to kind of help you go through that process of getting in touch with that again.
Right.
And rekindling, I guess, your passion for writing, which is usually pretty big with most attorneys.
Okay, right, cool. So is it safe to say then that this book is really intended primarily for those in the legal profession?
It's not exclusively for the legal profession. That just happens to be my background, my familiarity. But the principles in the book are pretty much universal for anyone that has a desire to write a book.
Okay, so it's just like anyone can pick it up, like say Joe Average can pick it up and he wants to write a novel, he's kind of busy and he can pick up something from it.
Yes, exactly. There may be a few points in there where he doesn't relate to what it's like in an attorney's day, but other than that, the principles, like I said, are very universal and very applicable to anyone who has that passion or desire to write a novel.
Okay, all right, cool, got it. So what made you decide to write the book? I mean, you mentioned a little bit something about this earlier, but was there like any particular incident, any particular realization that made you think, maybe I should write about this?
Well, to be honest, there are just several things that have happened in my life in the past 5 or 6 years.
Okay.
Some personal loss, and then my sister actually was my primary motivating factor, because as I mentioned, she and I were co-writing at one point, and I really wanted to help motivate her to finish her work because it's fabulous.
Right.
So I was basically kind of trying to lay the tracks out to say, hey, this is how you can do this. This is how you can finish it. So she was a big motivating factor.
Okay, all right, cool, I got that. Okay, so let's just be clear for the benefit of those listening. This isn't about advice on how to leave the legal profession to become a novelist. This is about becoming a novelist while remaining in the legal profession, or something like that. Is this correct?
Yes, actually it is. I'm not advocating that you give up your your law
Okay.
practice unless that just happens to be something that you're ready to do.
All right.
So I'm not saying you're going to be the next John Grisham because you write and publish your novel.
Right.
But I am saying that it has happened with a lot of attorneys, and it's pretty common. So no, I'm not telling you to leave your legal profession, but I'm telling you how you can manage to get it in there, because attorneys are swamped and
Right.
sometimes have 12-hour days, and
Right.
they have families and
Right.
obligations, and
Right.
so even though they have the desire and the passion, they're thinking like, how can I do this? How can I make this happen?
Right.
And it's just some simple tools and motivation to kind of maybe open up some ideas for you on how you can make that happen.
Okay, got that. So I'd like to go a little bit deeper in this, because for the sake of our listeners, some of them, I'm sure quite a few of them have busy work days. I just like to get a little feel for the kind of situation that attorneys in particular are in. Going back in my own past, I used to date a law student, and
Mm-hmm.
even though I'd like to think of myself being a voracious reader at that time, I was really shocked by how much she needed to read, and I was surprised she had the time to go
Exactly.
out with me. Yeah, so I imagine things, I imagine things are a bit more intense once you're a real lawyer. So what is the kind of schedule, the kind of day that lawyers face on the average?
Well, it depends on the type of attorney that you are. Obviously, if you're a litigator, then you can be swamped at some points when you have things due for trial. And basically hope you can see your family. So you can have
Mm,
long, long days.
right.
There can also be lulls in between cases.
Mm-hmm.
If you are, corporate attorney or of counsel for a large corporation, or you're doing contract work, your days are a little bit more regular.
Okay.
It doesn't really cut down on the reading. I
Okay.
honestly
Okay.
don't know how they absorb that. I mean,
Right.
one case file can be like 12 boxes of
Yes. Yes.
information. So they're very adroit at like learning how to read and pick up the pertinent information.
Hmm.
But yeah, so
Oh,
it kind of depends on the type of law you practice.
all right. But we can say that these are you can be a pretty busy bee, and finding the time to like write out a novel is a bit of a challenge then.
Of course it is. Yes, yes.
Hmm. All
For
right. Cool.
any busy professional, but yeah, it can be particularly for attorneys.
Right. Right. Okay. Cool. So I know that attorneys need to do tons and tons of reading and writing, and I'm sure that, quite a few people would think that such writing comes naturally, but this might not be the case. How different is the reading and writing done for law compared to, say, writing a novel or a nonfiction book, something like that?
Well, the writing that they do for their profession, as I mentioned, is
Hmm.
fairly tightly controlled,
Mm-hmm.
meaning that they have X number of pages in which to, say, answer an argument, or their brief can be X number of pages. And
Right.
they have to learn how to very succinctly get their story in with enough information
Mm-hmm.
to get it across the mini desk it has to cross, in
Right.
order to like take it into a case.
Right.
This writing is typically something that they think about during the day when
Okay.
they're thumbing through all this stuff they have to do, and these ideas pop in their head. And it's more free verse. It's more like what motivates them. I mean, particularly with litigators, because that's um, who I have, I guess some experience with. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they have to tell a story. I mean,
Mm.
they have to tell a story about their case, why their case is important, or why their opposing counsel's case is not important.
Right.
So they have to be storytellers anyway.
Okay.
So it's pretty common for them to, like, kind of weave stories through their mind, or in my experience.
Right. Okay, but it's how different is it compared to, say, when you write out a novel? Is it?
You mean time-wise or motivation-wise?
Well, the technical aspects, the motivation, essentially, how different is it?
Well, if you're writing for your profession, you're going to have deadlines.
Okay.
Sometimes they're
Okay.
generous.
Right.
Sometimes they're generous.
Okay.
Sometimes they're not.
Right.
You have criteria that you have to follow. You have to answer certain things in order to make it to the next step. So it's a very rigid process. And missing one deadline, or putting too many pages in a brief, or not enough information, is going to kick it back to you. So if you're lucky, or in the legal profession, if you miss a deadline, you might lose your case. I mean, there's some things that just absolutely have to be done at a certain time.
Okay.
Yeah, with the novel, it's kind of like that freedom. It's sort of like that door opening.
Okay, so these are two totally different styles of writing, two totally different approaches to writing then.
Yes, very, very, very different approaches to writing.
All right, cool.
Which is, I think, the reason it's appealing to the attorneys that I've known. I think that's what is the appealing factor, is the freedom they get to have in the idea of writing fiction.
Right, cool. Okay, so you did mention that there are, in your experience, quite a few attorneys out there who feel, they have a story to tell, most likely a novel may be. So I'm just curious, how widespread is this feeling, at least among the guys you know?
Well, of course, I can only speak for the people that I know, but I can honestly say, and it's interesting because it kind of falls into different categories. I don't find it to be as true with, say, attorneys who are specializing in tax.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, maybe not go into that. That genre may not appeal to them. But
right.
I honestly, I would have to say that probably 80% of the attorneys that I know, or have known in my lifetime, wanted to write something. Some of them write poetry. One writes country songs.
Okay.
I mean, it's fascinating to me, and I think that's kind of what was so interesting about writing the book, is that I would just come across and they'd be like, "Yeah, I just wrote this country song," and I'm like, "Excuse me?"
Okay.
So it was pretty widespread in my experience.
Okay, all right, cool. So, okay, I'm not quite sure how to put this. So, with regards to like the telling stories, okay, let me go through this. This skill of building a case, like in their technical aspect.
Right.
Might this have anything to do with storytelling from a novelist point of view?
That's a very good question. I don't know whether it's just innate or whether it's a practice that they develop that could be complementary to each other. I mean, they've even gotten to where when they have annual Bar Association meetings, they've had guest speakers on how to turn your work into a novel. Some very well-known attorneys, like I think the DA on the O.J. Simpson case, I think now is not a novelist.
Oh,
so so I think that it's and don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that there's pretty well-known people, attorneys that have turned into novelists. So it's hard to, I mean, I don't think I can answer that question honestly. Whether it's just who they are or whether it's the practice of what they do.
Okay, cool. So, in addition to time, are there any other hindrances, any other, obstacles, objections that attorneys face when it comes to like making a novel, making another book?
Well, it's interesting. I think this is the case for all of us, not just for attorneys.
Okay.
But despite the fact that many people think they want to write a book or want to write a novel.
Right.
It's like suddenly when you start doing it and you share it with someone,
Right.
the exposure of doing that puts you in a little more vulnerable position. It's a lot easier to say, yeah, I'd like to write a novel, or I'm thinking about writing a novel, than to share, like, yeah, I'm actually writing something.
Right.
So even though most attorneys you think of as being utterly confident, especially
right.
litigators,
True. Yes.
there's still that piece that's kind of personal, that makes it a little bit like, oh gosh, what are my law partners going to think of this? What am I, so there's still that I think that we all have. But for their profession, they have a name to protect. They have to be very careful about what they submit. So I think there's probably a little bit of that in there.
Okay, so it's something like the exposure, more like public exposure than anything else. That's one of the bigger obstacles.
Yes, in my experience, I think that's been the case. Usually, time is the first thing that they say, and the big thing is like, yeah, of course. Well, if I could quit my job, if I didn't have to do this and I could just do that for a living,
right.
Like all of us,
Okay.
Everybody. But yeah, I think exposure is probably one of the big ones up there.
Okay. So, I've heard on occasion that passion plays a big role when it comes to writing a book, writing a novel, creating a story, crafting a story. Would you say that like the passion is, I don't know how to put this, kind of different when you make a novel compared to like what attorneys do for a living?
Well, that's a very good question too. I think, and you asked me this earlier, one of the motivating factors is that there's so many attorneys that I know that have been practicing for a while and are somewhat disillusioned with their law practice. They're either working very, very hard, or so many times there's injustices in the legal system. And it's very, very, very discouraging to them at times. So, I think the passion, I think the passion has to be there for anything that you do. And what I was discovering in my own personal experience was that there was a loss of passion for the legal profession, and almost like I don't want to say a reemergence, but the things that motivated them to go to law school in the first place, which were the fact that they enjoyed reading and writing and all of that. Right. So passion definitely has to be there for anything that you do.
Right.
So comparable, I'm not real sure about that.
All right. Okay, I got that. So I'm just curious, do you have like any case study, don't mention any names or anything like that. Don't want to get into legal trouble here, we're talking about attorneys. They might hear it, they might sue us. Right. But do you have like any case studies of anyone you knew who was like an attorney, busy as anything, up to the ears in work, and still managed to find time to create a novel that, they really liked, they were passionate about, and it's
Yeah, there are a couple.
Actually. Okay, cool.
They have not reached the publication phase, but they are actually moving along and working on novels that they are very happy with. So, and it's been amazing for them. I think the journey has been amazing. I think that's the whole thing, the evolution of actually writing the novel. They've discovered that, the question you asked, that passion. They've brought that passion back and been able to find the time, even in their really crazy busy schedules.
Okay. So do you say that these two people, they applied the principles that you noted down in your book?
Yes, I believe that they did. Yes.
All right. Okay. And these guys were like really busy, like, like 12-hour days, something like that?
They're definitely practicing attorneys with their own law firms. So yeah, they're very busy making a living as an attorney.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I just wanted to bring up that point because I'm sure most of our listeners are not attorneys, but they're probably busy, working long hours and all of that. So I just want to make the point that, what's in this book can also like apply to them.
Yeah, totally. someone else that is actually an IT developer. Same
Oh,
thing.
okay.
Works
All right.
crazy hours.
Right.
And,
Right. Okay.
has a novel in process. Someone else is actually like a nurse.
Okay. Okay.
So, but still, as you can imagine, I mean, they do have different schedules
Right.
in the States anyway. Then they work, 4 12-hour days in a row, and then they have some
Right.
time off. But
Yes.
you still have to learn how to budget that time. So, so yes, it is applicable. It is. I mean, I think most of us are crazy busy these days if we're surviving.
Oh yeah, true, true, so true, so true.
I'm sure you are too.
Oh yeah. Definitely, right there, right there.
Right, right.
Yeah. Okay, so Kim, let's say you came across someone who's may or may not be a lawyer, could just be, busy, has a really crazy work schedule, up to his or her gills in work. This person just knows that he or she has a book waiting to burst out of them. Kind of like that scene in Alien where the thing comes out and all that. And
okay, that's a little graphic, but
yeah, okay, but you get the point, right? And let's say,
yeah, I got it.
say you only had enough time to tell that person, that would be John or Jane Grisham, one thing about how to work things so that they can get their novel out. What would be that one thing you would tell him or her, and why would you tell them that?
The one thing I would tell them sounds very generic, I'm sure, but it is if you've got a story to tell, if you have that burning desire to tell a story, then you tell it. Tell it any way you can tell it. As if it takes you 20 years, that's great. If it takes you 2 months, that's great. But
Right.
Start now. And I would tell them because they've been given a message that they need to share for their growth and for their readers.
Okay, very interesting, very interesting. And I suppose the second thing you would tell them would be to buy your book so they can get the hints and tips.
Yeah, it would be like, hey, I've got this great book. I know this person that
Yeah. All right, cool. So, Kim, are there anything else, like other stories or topics that you may want to write about in the future?
Yes. It's interesting that you asked that. Working on some things where basically just motivating people to write their books, not specific to attorneys, but just in dealing, as those questions you asked, just in dealing with life obstacles and life changes, and just the whole idea that your world can be turned upside down, but not to let go of that.
Right. Okay, so we're kind of expecting a book or two from you then sometime in the future then.
Yes. I'm working on that.
Cool, fantastic. Okay, so Kim, in the last few minutes of this interview, are there any last words of wisdom you'd like to share to inspire our listeners?
Basically, when you ask me that question, it's just, you can do this. I mean, I don't know you personally, but I believe that you can do this. So, yeah, just start. Just, you can do this.
Cool. All right. So great words of wisdom right there.
Yeah, I know, pretty simplistic. It sounds like the Nike commercial, and just do it. But
yes.
It really, it comes down to that. It comes down to, how do you feel about it? It comes down to passion. And if you have that passion and you've had it for a while, and most people I know that have novels or wanted to write for a while have had it for a while, it's there for a reason. It's just the hardest thing is to start. So just start. If it's 10 minutes a day, just start.
Okay, cool. Got that. Okay, then. So in closing, our guest is author Kimberly Benjamin. Her book is Attorney by Day, Novelist by Night. Bring your book to light while still practicing law. And you can find her book at her website, KimberlyBenjaminCoaching.com. That's KimberlyBenjaminCoaching, one word.com, as well as on Amazon and other online booksellers. So, Kim, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for being an Author Story. It was fantastic to have you with us as our guest.
Thank you, Alexander. It was so much fun. I really enjoyed it.
Cool.
I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Of course, for those of you listening, if you want to get Kimberly's book, Attorney by Day, Novelist by Night, You can get it right now by going to the Amazon link in the description below the video. And if you'd like to follow our author interviews on YouTube, hey, great. It's easy, just click subscribe. And so long for now, everyone. I'll be back on AuthorStory next time with another inspiring author.